Hi everyone, my name is Kirsten Roller and I'm the Health Education Supervisor for Baltimore County Public Schools. In this quick overview, I want to provide you with an update of what virtual health education looks like to our students. The point of this presentation is to help you begin to think about how you might begin building out your health fair in a virtual environment. All right, so to begin, when we first started switching to virtual health education, countywide, our students have their lesson components as the following. So there's always a think about it section, a learn about it section, a try it section, and then finally a show what you know. And I'll go into each of these components in detail in a moment. But what's really nice about the consistency in how we're approaching virtual education and virtual school is that students see the exact same format in every class. So by you building this out in a health fair, it'll be very familiar to students and hopefully make it easy and accessible for them to navigate. Okay, so the first part is the think about it. And when you come up with your think about it activity, the purpose of this is to really engage and activate prior learning for our students. It's a way to really prime the brain for the content or skill that you're about to teach or that's in the component of your health fair. To engage students at the beginning of a lesson, usually people might use a short video, an image, a quote, or some other inspirational hook that can be used in a discussion board, similar to what you're familiar with in Blackboard, or a Jamboard, which is a Google application. If you haven't tried Jamboard yet, it's really cool. It might be something that you and your group might want to check out. The use of media albums is also neat if you want students to preview and comment on multiple different pictures or images or videos. And again, we use what's called Schoology, which is our learning management system. It's similar to what you have in Blackboard. It's just what we're using in our K through 12 classrooms. All right, the next section is where you will actually teach, model, or explain. So this is the direct instruction that you would provide to your students who would be coming to your health fair. So in the Learn About It section, try to think of if you were really doing a health fair in a face-to-face environment, your audience and your students, your participants, would be coming up to your table. So when they come up to your table, what would you do to teach them about the topic that you have? What might that look like? And then I want you to think about, okay, so what would this look like in a virtual environment? This would be that direct instruction. So I'm thinking in a regular health fair, you'd probably have a trifold. What information on that trifold can you build out virtually? This could include a voiceover PowerPoint. Maybe there's a link to an infographic that you want students to examine, or if you have found a video that you would like to show students. You can also do, links to readings, etc. The try it section is exactly what it sounds like. This is after students have had access to the learn about it section and they just learned some skill or some content. What can students do to actually try what you just showed them? To actually, apply that information that they just learned. I'm thinking if you are doing something about stress management, you might give them a little bit about, students' background information about stress, but you probably really want them to practice some type of breathing or stress management technique. So in the try it section, think what question could you have them do, or how might they model or try out some of the breathing techniques that you just shared with them, or self-management techniques. Okay, and then in our final section of our virtual education, it's the show what you know. And this is where students are assessed of their knowledge and skill development for that day, and it might also include some reflection. It's really an opportunity or a way to have students provide evidence in their proficiency in meeting the learning outcome for the day. This is where you really want to make sure that whatever question you come up with on that SurveyMonkey assessment is truly aligned to your objective. For instance, if in your objective you use language you want students to list, well then you should have in your assessment students making a list of whatever it is that you have them listing. Or if they're analyzing, how are they analyzing and showing evidence that they have the ability to analyze in your assessment? If you're using words like demonstrate, what might it look like in an assessment for students to demonstrate the skill that you have taught them? Again, I think Professor Mickey will help you with this and talk more about this in your upcoming weeks. All right, so that's a real quick overview of what the different components look like in our lesson plan. Now, I did come up with some questions for my teachers, and I think they would apply to you as well to help guide your planning. So as you start thinking about what, you have this objective, that's where you want to start, come up with your objective, and then think about what do students need to know, what can you teach them or model and explain to get them to meet that objective for the day. Once you have that, you want to think, what can students not do without you in a virtual setting? And that's going to be your teaching part. So if you want them to be able to breathe and manage their stress, or maybe do guided imagery, our students probably aren't coming into your health fair with that background information, so you'd have to teach that to them. You also want to think about your topic in general, and we know for health education, a lot of our topics are inherently triggering for our students. So if you're doing anything about suicide prevention or depression, sexual assault, I'm not sure if you all stayed away from some of these controversial or triggering topics, but even something so much as food and diet can be triggering for our students. So come through it through the lens that, some of our students might not have access to what you're talking about, or some of our students are living in a household where there is addiction. How do you address the students' needs, their social emotional learning before, during, and after that lesson? And you may be able to work with the school to, provide office hours for the school counselor that may be able to check in with students, or maybe make like a little, content warning before the students access your direct instruction, and then provide them with some resources where they can find additional information or help. When we look at triggering content, it's going to be best for you to avoid any type of self-reflection in regards to that triggering content. For instance, with suicide, that's a very triggering content, obviously, but you don't want students to reflect upon a time where maybe they felt so low that they wanted to give up. That's too much to do in a virtual environment when you have 10 minutes with the students. Perhaps you really just want to connect students to a phone number that they can reach out to, or to that text hotline. That might be the key takeaway that you want. So again, try to, in your virtual environment, when you have such limited time with the students, keep it as non-triggering as possible. Okay, you also want to think about what students can do in small groups or independently to try out that new learning. So once you teach the students the information or the content or the skill, what can they do to practice that? Okay, and I'll show you in a little bit what that can look like on Schoology. And then finally, what will students do independently to show that they've met the objective? This will become your show what you know question for your SurveyMonkey. Again, you want to make sure that it is aligned with your objective. And those are just some guiding questions to help you as you begin to plan your virtual health fair. If you need additional support, I'm fortunate enough to be working with Linda Tran, who actually took this class that you're in last semester. And she's my intern, so feel free to reach out with her and she'll be in contact with you and to help you build out some of your virtual health fair in Schoology. And her email is on here. All right, thank you. Take care and good luck.